First of all, Matteo, welcome to Tech Talk for Business Leaders. It's great that we could spend some time to talk about the recent announcements in Gen AI and what's been happening in the ecosystem. What are you seeing from your perspective as our leader in data and insights?
Well, Sam, first of all, always a pleasure spending time with you. I spend a lot of time in my career working with data, and it's maybe a bit strange for me to say I see a big inflection point. I say it's a bit strange for me to say because I've seen a lot of incremental change with data, but I truly believe we are at a point where we see a foundational change. And it's to do with the adoption of generative AI. And let me explain a little bit why. So what our clients, a lot of organizations do as the first step when they adopt generative AI, they enable an off-the-shelf product. Could be ChatGPT, we did the same thing, could be OpenAI, could be Copilot, you name it.
Yeah.
The moment they do that, there is a pivot, an important pivot in the data supply chain. If you think about the data supply chain as a physical supply chain, just for an analogy, right? Imagine that when you turn it on, fundamentally you become Amazon in a day. Very exciting, very scary,
yeah.
Right? And so let me tell you why, right? Typically a data supply chain in an enterprise is fairly governed, structured. It relies on curated data sets. It relies on a set of data providers for external data. But when you activate that system of AI, you adopt directly or indirectly trillions of data points that be used to train the large language model, the generative AI behind the application. In addition to that, you start enabling thousands of experiences of prompted experiences, right, through data extraction to data interaction, that eventually will be also used to tune that AI. And right. Most of our clients, most of our organizations, they are not ready for such a change.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I hear you. You mentioned a couple of points there, and I want to try and see if we could spend a minute or two sort of parsing that out a little bit. But the first question I have for you is, if I'm a technical leader in an organization, and you just said, explosion of data points, right? Mm-hmm. How should I be thinking about integration? The cost of integration has gone up dramatically, right? I mean, so how should I be thinking about integration of those data points? How does automation come into the picture? What are your points of view on that?
I think there are challenges and there are opportunity. The challenging side, I think, is this notion of trust. Right? You would tell trust in data has been a problem, opportunity for many years. That's why we have data governance, we have data quality initiatives. But when you think about data trust, trust tends to be situation, right? Mm-hmm. You either trust or don't trust an outcome or a datum. But trustworthiness is more systemic, right? Yeah. And so when you deal with this type of data explosion, now you need to deal with trustworthiness and principle like fairness, integrity. And so that becomes an opportunity and a challenge. The way we see organizations do it well is by integrating this principle. If you were a cyber architect, we would call it zero trust, right, within the data foundation. So there is an element of that. There is also an element of changing the operating model and the way, I would call it data citizens now, can be empowered and able to drive that change. I think those two things need to come together. And when you think of the convergence of the two, the challenge is maybe less scary because typically the major bottleneck for organization in the data space has been lack of skills. But now with data citizens, they're empowered by the same Gen AI tools. Now the bottleneck is less incumbent.
Got it. And that has a lot to do with the notion of prompts and prompt engineering. It makes it so much easier to sort of interact with the model when you might not have been able to do that in the past, right? Thank you very much for being here, Matteo. Always a pleasure to have you. And to our audience, if you don't get a chance, please subscribe to Tech Talk for Business Leaders. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam.